Today we're going to learn how to multiply fractions. Now in fourth grade, what we will do is we will multiply whole numbers by fractions. So we're going to do that a couple of ways. We're going to first use fraction tiles. We're going to also learn how to do it with a model as well as a number line, and finally an equation. So equations shouldn't be too difficult because when we did equivalent fractions, we actually did it with an equation. So first off, we're making some cookies. We're making chocolate chip cookies, and we need to make 4 batches of cookies. Now, each batch of cookies requires 1/3 cup of cocoa. So let's think about what we're doing. So we have 4 groups, and in each of those groups, we have 1/3 cup of cocoa. So our equation is going to be 4 times 1/3. Now, before we do that, we're going to actually look at fraction tiles. So for example, I have made 1 batch of cookies because I have 1/3 cup of cocoa. I have 2/3 cups of cocoa, 3/3 cups of cocoa, because I've made 1, 2, 3 batches. But remember, I need 4 batches. So now I have made 4 batches. So 4 batches, I know I'm going to need 4/3 of cocoa, okay? Another way that we can think of that is, well, how many parts make up that whole? We see because of that denominator, there are 3 parts that make up that whole. So we have 1 and 1/3. Another way that we can remember this is if we refer back to our videos where we talked about equivalent fractions, as well as our videos about how we represent a number or remainder as a numerator and denominator, or numerator or a number as a fraction. That's another way that we can do this, okay? So once again, it's saying 3 goes into 4. How many times? We know 1. 1 times 3 is 3. 4 minus 3 is 1. Remember, whatever number or total of numbers we have on this side will always be our whole. This will always be our numerator, whatever we have left over, and this will always be our denominator. Now, when we look at this fraction, I do want to let you all know that this is what we call a unit fraction. So a unit fraction is whatever fraction the numerator is a 1. Now, we're going to get into some more detailed fractions, but we now know. So when we do our models, when we do our number lines, our equations, we kind of already know because we looked at our fraction tiles that it's going to be 1 and 1/3. So let's think. When we do a model, I know I'm making 4 batches of chocolate chip cookies. So I'm going to make 4 models. Now, how many parts is the whole broken up into? So I'm going to look here. I can see that my whole is broken up into 3 parts. So that means I'm going to break each whole into 3 parts. Let's think. In this batch, I need 1/3. In my second batch, I need 1/3. In my third batch, I need 1/3. And in my fourth batch, I need 1/3. So let's count it up. We have 1, 2, 3, 4 thirds. Now, the next way that we can do this is using a number line. So what we would do is, I tell my students, if we go from 0 to 5, and you'll see once we get bigger numbers, that will be a good start for us. So we're going to break up this number line into 5 wholes. Okay. Now, thinking of this numerator again, or denominator, excuse me, each whole is broken up into 3 parts. So we're going to break each whole up into 3 parts. Once I have done that, right now, technically, I have made 0 chocolate chip cookies. So from here to here, which is 1/3, I have made 1 batch. Okay, because remember, we broke our whole up into 3 parts. So this is technically 1/3. This is 2/3. Okay, now remember, we need to make 4 batches. So 1, 2, 3, 4 batches. My second, my third, and my fourth. Now we can see we can count those humps also, and we should be able to see that we have 4 batches of cookies, and we did 1/3 for each one. Now where does this number line start, or where do we stop at? Right here. So when I look here, I know that I have 1 because that is 1 whole. And then I know this is 1/3. So that is 1 and 1/3. Now doing an equation, remember back when we did equivalent fractions, remember that we can multiply straight across. So this is 4 wholes though. So what I like to tell my students is if I wanted to represent 4 wholes, what would I technically have as the denominator? Technically, that denominator would be 1. So we always say there's an imaginary 1 there, and we're going to multiply straight across. So we have 4 times 1, which we know is 4. And then we have 1 times 3, which is 3. 4/3, 4/3, 4/3. We have our 4/3, all right? Let's go another way. This time we are not going to use unit fractions. We are just going to do fractions, okay? So this time we're making 6 batches of red velvet cookies. Now with these red velvet cookies, we need 3/4 tablespoons of red food coloring. So this time what we're going to do is we're going to make sure we look at our models. So let's think, how many batches am I making? I'm making 6. So I'm going to draw out 6 models. 3, 4, 5, and 6. Each of those wholes, looking at our denominator, is broken up into 4 parts. So I'm going to break up each whole into 4 parts. Now for each one of those batches, how many parts are being used? When I look at my numerator, I see 3 parts are being used. We're going to shade in 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. All right. So let's count it up. How many tablespoons did we actually use, or a fraction of tablespoons? So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. So we have 18/4. We're going to hold off on changing that to a mixed number at the end because our number line kind of helps us do that, all right? So we're going to start off with 0. And remember, I feel like 5 is a good place to go. So we have 1 whole, 2 wholes, 3 wholes, 4 wholes. Now we can see that's kind of uneven, but when we're doing this type of, using this number line, it kind of doesn't matter, okay? So each whole is actually broken up into 4 parts. So we're going to break them up into 4 parts. All right, now the key here is each batch is 3/4. So that means 1, 2, 3. So from here to here, that is 1 batch. Now we got to do 1, 2, 3/4. So from here to here, we have 2 batches. 1, 2, 3/4. So from here to here, that is 3 batches. 1, 2, 3. From here to here would be our 4 batches. 1/4, 2/4, 3/4. From here to here would be 5 batches. Remember, we're doing 6 batches. 1, 2, 3. From here to here would be our 6th batch. So let's think, what number is this? So I see I have 4 and 1, 2, 4 and 2/4, or I would take 4 and 1/2. Okay. Now remember, we don't have to simplify in 4th grade. So 4 and 2/4 would be great. All right. Now let's see if we do it here. Let's go ahead and change that improper fraction into a mixed number and see if we have 4 and 2/4, because that's what we should get across this out so we're not getting confused. Okay. So we have 18, and we're going to divide it up into 4. So what number can I multiply by 4 to give me 18? I know that I can do 4. 4 times 4 is 16. We're going to subtract. 8 minus 6 is 2. 1 minus 1, those cancel out. That's 0. Remember, this number is our whole. This number will always be our numerator, and this one will always be our denominator. So we should have 4 from our whole and 2 fourths, which is actually the same thing that we got here. Now looking at our equation, remember we can multiply straight across. So we have 6 times 3 fourths, right? Remember, there's an imaginary 1 because we have 6 wholes. Now, how we represent wholes as fractions, our denominator will always be 1. 6 times 3, multiplication, we multiply straight across when we're doing fractions, is 18, and 1 times 4 is 4, okay?